If I were in that same situation, chances are I'd have taken a round because I wouldn't have recognized that being a lethal situation. You know, but you're already out of the holster by the time the gun comes up to you. You say you're dumping rounds at him almost simultaneously. So something happens that you see, and it's not just somebody stepping back and swinging their gun in your direction, because you've had that happen. I need to know what that is.
Well, let's kind of start back to his words. I knew he was angry by his words, get that piece away from my animal.
Here's the deal. Cody, you've got to explain it.
Jack Yantis is dead. We haven't been able to explain why, nor has anyone else. John Updike put it like this when talking about the JFK assassination. Scrutiny of a minute section of time and space would yield similar strangeness, gaps, inconsistencies, warps and bubbles in the surface of circumstance. In the Yantis shooting, there are 4 witnesses. Jack's wife, Donna Yantis, Jack's nephew, Rowdy Paradis, and the 2 law enforcement officers. We're going to concentrate on Deputy Cody Rowland and Deputy Brian Wood. If you read the written report, and as Rowland just said, he and Wood agree that Yantis said, "Get that expletive thing away from my animal." But in the walkthrough, those gaps, inconsistencies, and warps begin to present themselves.
So he walked very, very close to me, and right about here, he was doing something that looked like he was loading the rifle. Okay. And he said, "Put that piece of away."
He was about right here. He said, "Get that piece of away from my animal."
The FBI has researched memories in high-stress environments, and specifically officer-involved shootings. They found that recall distorts unpredictably. Memories of the threat are often heightened, with peripheral information significantly deadened. In layman's terms, that's tunnel vision. What Wood and Rowland experienced is quite different. They have a good recollection of events before and after the confrontation with Jack, but the details around the confrontation, that are usually heightened, cannot be recalled.
None of the rest of this stuff makes any sense. It's like he's saying, we're trying to fill in gaps. The hardest thing that I've ever had to deal with on this is the fact that you two are not telling the same story. That is bizarre. I mean, we're not even talking about a little bit of departure. Mm-hmm. Those are major things. No, I never touched him. He never touched me. Oh, he pushed him. As a matter of fact, he was hopping on his leg. I mean, I think Brian would remember getting shoved so hard that he's hopping on his leg.
Despite an exhaustive and thorough exploration of what happened, the investigators couldn't find a satisfactory answer. There was no consensus between Rowland, Wood, the forensics lab, and the Yantis family, and Idaho was left having to accept those bubbles in the surface of circumstance.
Well, hang on, no. When I got about here, I was expecting, if someone comes towards my gun, I'm going to pull away and stop. And it took them a lot longer. He just kind of looked at me. And somewhere in here is, as I recall it, where he yanked back, he just yanked his whole body back like that, and then swung the muzzle right across my belly. So I stepped back going, okay, what's going on? And then he kept it, so if you could hold it down like this, he kept it about like that. And then he started stepping out into the road, big goofy steps like this. And he kept it swinging towards everyone down there.
And then that's when Jack pushed Deputy Wood. He didn't push him very far, maybe one step, and then Deputy Wood was trying to maintain his balance on his right foot. And that was the last time I saw Deputy Wood until it was over.
I'd say point that down, and then I see he immediately turns from me. Sorry, he turns from me to Deputy Rowland.
He turned on you, and you kind of knew that this is going down, because in your mind you're saying, I should have been faster. And that makes me feel like in your mind you're saying that you felt that guy's intent the moment he pointed that thing at you, and you should have been faster out of your draw. Am I misunderstanding that?
No, I should have been a lot faster.
Okay.
Absolutely should have been faster. When he first broke loose from wood, I should have been drawing then, not later. I should have been drawing then.
There was no physical contact between you and Yantis. It was you moving forward, you know.
Right. I don't believe there was. I know we were right up against each other. Like I said, I was surprised it took him so long to react to me telling him to stop. I think he sat there for a long time. I don't recall any physical contact at all.
Have you ever been muzzled by anybody before? And you've been out on the firing range, you've been around cops, you've been around people. Why would you think that this guy spinning a gun towards you would mean you were going to get shot? Well, for starters, he was about to send a round into a group of EMTs.
In anger?
Out of stupidity, I don't know. And when I tell him to, whoa, 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 or stop, whatever I said it 3 times. And he was going to do it anyway. And then when he turned that gun to me, it's not... I hadn't made the choice to fire until he pointed at me, but I was drawing as he was turning towards me. Does that make sense?
Okay.
The way you're asking it, why am I not shooting everybody at the range that muzzles me?
Well, I want to know why you think that, in your mind, what makes this guy's actions when he steps away and swings that gun around, what makes you think he's going to shoot you?
When somebody that doesn't know me and I don't know them points a rifle at me, I can assume that there's a good chance they're going to shoot me.
That is the best answer we get. It's not satisfactory, but only Deputy Rowland knows why he fired. What we do know is the officers shot Jack Yantis 12 times. 3 in his abdomen, 8 in his upper extremities, and 1 in his chest. The bullets from Wood's rifle came in from the right side of Yantis, killing him.
Right side to left, through here, underneath the arm, lodges right here in an upward direction. Okay. That means in order for Brian to have been shooting him, he would have been completely turned away from Brian at that time. Gun up, gun down, wherever the gun was at, it wasn't pointed at either one of you guys.
Look at where Rowland and Woods claim they were at the time of the shooting. Yantis is shot from right to left, according to forensic evidence. That means when Woods fired the fatal shot, he would have had to have been here. Or Yantis would have had his back turned to Deputy Rowland. This would make it hard to point his gun at the deputy. But again, that's different than what they told investigators. Or our spatial understanding of the event is warped by human memory. In an interview on KIVI 6 on Your Side, after the investigation, the deputies explained it like this.
If he fired, as you say, where did that bullet go?
According to investigators, it glanced off of something and landed back on the scene.
There was no bullet strikes anywhere in there, anything that was indicative of bullet strike. And I know that our crime scene people went over that pretty thoroughly.
Both my pants and my shirt had quite a bit of gunshot residue on it.
Specifically gunshot residue that's consistent with a rifle round, not the pistol rounds he was using, so it would have come from at least some different weapon than his own.
Ballistics wise, there's no way that when that gun went off, it was leveled at you.
The lab's exact language was this. The faint positive lead reaction on the shirt was unlike any of the reactions on the test-fired targets from Yantis' rifle.
And for some reason, this moment, this point, is completely a puzzle to both of you.
The puzzle never came together. Even after the shots are fired, another conflict between the words and the actions presents itself. Both Rowland and Wood explain how the rifle was tossed away from Yantis, the same. That is, until they demonstrate it.
I reached over, I believe it was my right hand, but one hand or another. Anyway, grabbed the rifle and chucked it, and I think it hit the car. It was somewhere right by the back of that car.
Brian was about here, and I just seen him take one step and launch him across the highway.
That process wasn't just frustrating for the investigators. It was hard on the deputies.
I will go to prison before I tell you I saw something that I didn't see. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we want you to be honest.
I have had U.S. Marshals calling me from Ruby that were involved in Ruby Ridge and said, if there's an FBI agent in that room, you do not open your mouth. I have not really a friend, but a guy back east that just retired from the FBI last year. He said, if an FBI agent's in the room, then you're in trouble. Otherwise, they won't talk to you. Here I am talking.
But the process is important.
For the community to trust us, we have to be forthcoming with everything. You know, we work for the citizens of the state of Idaho. We have been charged with making sure that everyone lives in a safe environment, and with that comes certain responsibilities.
It's very easy, I think, when you get in just with law enforcement agencies or government entities to not be as objective as you need to be because you're convinced that your mission is right. And it's important to open yourself up to skepticism and to questioning.
I think every community has the right to know if one of their officers takes a life, did they do it justifiably?
In this case, the Attorney General said he would not press charges. But
I am not saying that the actions by the deputies were justifiable, nor am I saying that they were not justifiable.
the investigation doesn't stop there.
There are different reviews that need to take place. That's where the agency would then do a little bit of soul searching. They look back upon their own policies and say, okay, did the officer follow our policies? We know this and that occurred. Maybe we understand that they weren't charged criminally. However, did they violate some sort of an internal policy? And then if so, what are we going to do about that?
But law enforcement agencies are not required to do that.
In Idaho, they don't have to. They don't have a law that governs specifically that. Most police agencies in the country are not banging down the door of legislatures saying, please institute laws that require us to do A, B, or C, because that limits their discretion, right? Would you hope that, would the model idea be that you would do an administrative review every time you had a critical incident? And after the dust had settled, meaning civil lawsuits had been resolved, any possible criminal activity has been resolved, in order to really understand what happened, that obviously would be the model way to address learning from and moving forward.
That's if they do an administrative review. They're not required to.
We need to expect law enforcement agencies to be robust in their internal affairs policies and their administrative discipline. And sometimes when I speak to law enforcement agencies about the work the department does, I said we would much rather you take care of your problem officers than we have to.
The way those officers are dealt with is decertification at the Post Academy. That means they can't come back for at least 10 years. 157 people were decertified in the last 5 years. But the only way a problem officer will come to Post's attention, allowing the decertification process, is if that administrative review happens, or the media puts it on Post's radar. If those things don't happen, the officer can pass through the cracks and sign on with another agency. And all that rests in the hands of small police and sheriff's agencies.
The smaller areas have this constant turnover of people. And then if there's a backup at Post and they can't get people through Post right away, I mean, it's really a conundrum for those agencies because of the lack of resources. Now, does that mean that they're absolved from, they should be absolved from doing what every other agency may think is the model way of doing things? No, but it's a need for resources and it's a need for assistance in order to do those things.
That help would hypothetically come from Post. But they are dealing with a lack of funding and have cut all but essential services. That means small agencies are on their own to report problem officers and even to report officer-involved shootings.
Do we have the best data on officer-involved shootings that we could possibly have? No, we don't.
If we don't even know how many of these incidents there are, how can we honestly know that they were all justified?
Well, I don't think that we can, I think you'd have to, it's hard, it is hard to say. I don't think anyone can now say we think everything was justified.
Moving forward, we could see some changes. Agencies across the state are taking a hard look at their body cam policies. And that might be the big lesson learned from the tragic events in Adams County.
There is no body camera videos. This made our job much more difficult.
I can guarantee you that just with recent events, agencies are reevaluating their body camera policies. When do you turn them on? When do you turn them off? There are agencies that don't even carry body cameras yet. Do we need to order those? Do we need to get with our local legislators or our city councils or our county commissioners and come up with funding to purchase body cameras?
The conversation will continue, and it's a conversation Idaho has to have.
And I think it would be a mistake in this national climate and what's going on in other parts of the country for Idaho not to have a conversation about the relationship between its law enforcement agencies, between its prosecuting agencies, and the public that it serves. And if we have that conversation, if we have that dialogue, and it turns out we're doing overall a great job, but we need to improve in some areas, I think that's critical. If it turns out we have that conversation and we in law enforcement and prosecution are mistaken about the kind of job we're doing, that's helpful.